Hi everyone, welcome to our Facebook Live today. My name's Alyssa and I'm the Marketing Manager here at Simba. And today I'm so excited to be here with Cathy Davys, who is the owner of Architectural Key Education. Hey Cathy.
Hi Alyssa, it's great to be here. Hi everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
Doing really, really well. Yes, it's great here in New Zealand at the moment, so it's all good.
It is. We're very, very lucky, aren't we? But we are thinking of everyone overseas. So I hope you guys are all taking care.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So today I'm really excited to have Cathy here because we're going to be chatting a little bit about her, but mainly about how to effectively train your team. So she's going to give us kind of all of her top tips and tricks. So I'm sure today's session is going to be awesome. But to start, Cathy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your career? Because I know you've done kind of the most incredible things.
Thank you. I started probably over 40 plus years ago. I started in a small town in the Wairarapa, a country town, in Masterton, which I've since moved back to from Wellington. I guess I started slightly older than most people. Hairdressing wasn't on my radar, but Dad said be a hairdresser, and I started figuring out, well, I can own my own business. And then one day I heard some girls that I'd gone to school with had won hairdressing competitions, and I thought, yay, I'm competitive. I love doing that. So within 6 months, I was competing, and I think that was my grounding for my hairdressing. It's that constant practice, putting that hours in. You finish work on a Thursday night late after doing perm after perm, and then you started practicing till midnight. And it's that dedication, that perseverance that I guess builds up that classic skill set. And then from there, it's taken me to Paris, to London, to Australia, and all around the world competing for New Zealand. So very, very lucky.
That's incredible. That's awesome. And you owned your own salon, of course, didn't you?
Yes, I stayed with my first employer for 6 years because I always felt that one had to give back, and she'd given me so much. So after 6 years, I opened my first salon. Those were the times of sort of think big and grow. And so with the help of product companies, we opened other salons, one in Wellington and Oriental Bay, which was fabulous. Rolling Stone can gather no moss, but opening salons was fun back then. And I opened a big one in Wellington, which I sold 8 years ago to the Vivo Group, and then did lots of training for them around New Zealand. Then started architectural hair education, moved to the Wairarapa, and have this wonderful retreat where, as hairdressers, when you do training in a salon, it's like being at work. But when stylists come up here, it's a real artist retreat. So the creativity that flows is amazing, and it's wonderful to see and give back to people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I guess what was the main driver for you kind of starting there? I mean, you're obviously incredibly passionate and very talented. Kind of why did you really want to take this leap and do this?
Well, I combine it with being on the salon floor as well. So, because I believe you have to keep it real and see what's happening constantly. But it's just that we've got a property that's unique, and it's here for the sharing, and the space is amazing. Like I said, it's a real artist retreat, and I just love training. I just love teaching whether how to do the perfect shampoo, the classic skills, or most importantly, the soft skills, that greet and meet, that seeing the customer out, making them feel like the most amazing person in the world. That is so important.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's incredible that you do. Yeah, it's all encompassing. It's not just about your skills and your technique. It's all the greeting, because everything is so important to that client experience.
It is, and it's also, clients have many choices these days. They can go to the salon next door, or they can drive across town and go past 60 salons before they get to you. And they've done that. I can take yesterday, a person drive 4 hours to come and see me, and then another one up from took an hour and a half. But it's building that relationship. You have to build that relationship from day one with any client you have in the salon, not just your existing ones. It has to start. It's got to be consistent. You've got to love it. Clients will tell if you don't love it, and love them back.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I love that. And so getting into training, how often should people be doing training, or how often should you be training your team? Like, kind of, what's your advice there?
Training is consistent, needs to be consistent and constant, and training never goes away. I think if I can go back to my years, I would be shampooing as an apprentice, and then I'd also be peering over at what the senior stylist was doing. So you're constantly storing in your brain what they're doing and how they're doing it. I think watching and learning is the most important thing. I think having a plan is important, and where do you see that person going in your salon? Having that timeline so that they can see their growth. It's like showing them how to use Katoomba. I think too often we let young ones come into the salon, we just let them go because they are very, very clever. There's some amazing young kids out there who know technology way more than I do. But, how to book an appointment is important, and that there are no wrong questions. If they get it wrong, they'll only get it wrong once, hopefully. And then that's the biggest learning is making a mistake. It's never a mistake. It's
Definitely.
And I also think showing and doing and talking things through is important. The way I train when I have my seminars is, let's say we're doing a classic concave cut. I will do one section. I break the haircut into 5 or 6 sections. You can't drag it out. It's got to be exciting for people. But I might do that first section. Then they all have their mannequins and they go back and do it. So it's all fresh in their mind. It's not like watching a video, or they're actually doing.
Yeah.
And some of the results and feedback have been incredible. I'm a fan of the razors. Teaching the razor is incredible because people are often scared of it, but
Awesome. So you're saying it should be constant. So do you think, and do you think it's quite good to have kind of a schedule of once a week, like kind of, I guess, more formal training? Like, obviously you want people to be learning all the time, but is it kind of, should we be doing it once a week or multiple times a week or once a month, or kind of, I guess, what's kind of the dream schedule, I suppose, for training?
The dream schedule would be once a week and marking out that salon time. I mean, most of us, when we first start, we're the salon owners and we're bringing the most into the salon. So it's trying to stop to do our training pulls at our heartstrings when our best client walks in and wants a cut and blow wave. But it's so important that we must. That's why going off-site is probably works better. We're not being distracted by phones and clients walking in the door, but getting younger stylists to mirror you, to tag you, and other senior stylists sharing what they're doing and why, because that's also a big learn for them. If you're sharing what you're doing and why, you're learning and you're thinking, now, why did I do that? Because so often we do things instinctively. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was going to actually ask next, kind of, there are so many different methods and types of training that you can do. And you have mentioned kind of, obviously showing and then them getting to do it, but then also getting your more senior stylists to train your younger ones. Kind of, what are the other ways that you find are really, really effective?
You have to break it up with every tool because everybody learns differently. Like drawing a haircut out on a head shape is a good way. Watching videos, some people can prefer and do it that way, but it's not like real-time hairdressing in a real-time learning environment. We all learn differently. We all pull in a collective, a mirage of ideas, and we pull it all together to make our hairstyles. But having the classic skills, I guess, is my strength, but also a passion, because you cannot build I relate training and hairdressing to like building a house. You've got to have that strong foundation and skill set. Otherwise the house falls over. You can't, everybody wants to do creative, but the creative hairstylists have learned classic skills before they go in and chip it all to pieces and, and start building their shapes. They need to know the techniques.
That's a really, really good point. Yeah. I was going to ask, kind of, do you think it's more effective to do kind of individual training versus group training? But I guess maybe that comes back to what you were saying about how everyone learns very differently. So is it kind of more understanding how each of your team learns and then kind of training them in that way?
Well, you do have to have a personality profile of your team. Obviously, some people can be very shy about working within a group. Others thrive on it. A training last year I trained 2 young apprentices from a salon, and that one-on-one is very taxing on a trainer because you're constantly giving out 6 hours a day. But at the end of it, it's so rewarding. I find if I've got my team of 6 to 8, learners, there's a lot of feedback, there's a lot of communication, and then my training seminars are for 2 days, so they stay the night, they stay for an evening meal, and then around that table, a huge amount of conversation happens. If we go to a conference, that's what happens. But it's another way of learning. You never ever stop learning every single day.
Yeah, and I do like what you said about kind of going off-site, or I guess because otherwise it would be outside business hours to make sure that there are no distractions and making sure that there is proper time to really focus on that training.
Totally. I mean, I know. I just know from running a lot of teams at any one time, the distractions are huge. You might start your training, everybody's got their model or their mannequin, then someone's running late, then someone's phone goes, someone has to run off to the doctor. A client wanders in, and you're trying to be focused and be professional without, well, everybody's stay still, or it's you've got to, but it's everybody. If one person gets one thing out of what you're teaching, and to me, I'm satisfied. It's not, you can't change the world, but you can share with many people.
Yeah, definitely, as long as they're learning, like you said.
Yeah, and techniques are, everybody can, there's no one right way. We can, one person might take something that another senior stylist has done and go, wow, that works for me. And it's accepting that, and you learn from it as well. But the classic skills, where to stand, where to hold your arms, how to look after your body and your posture and your hands without getting RSI. I mean, I've been doing it for 40 plus years. I've never had those aches and pains, and I used to wear high heel shoes all the time. But having the right gear, having the chairs that go up the highest, trying not to sit all the time because you can't cut a straight line while trying to sit. And making customers put down their cell phones because their little thumb moving can upset your beautiful straight line. But it's knowing all those things, and sharing them.
Definitely. Cool. And if someone was about to run a training session, kind of for an individual or for their team, what would be your kind of like top 3 big tips that you would really, really want them to take into consideration to make sure it's kind of the most effective session that they could possibly run?
I think revisiting the goals of the stylist. You also have to visit the goals of the salon. It's like our young kids here in New Zealand go to tech and they learn tech stuff, which is fantastic. But when I was training, I would break it down into the tech units, but also what does the salon need? Like these young kids out there now want to learn fast. And if you put the time into them, you can bring them up to speed to be an asset to the salon quite quickly. So you've got those 2 levels of training, but also finding out what the learner's goals are. So that you're all aligned with tech, with the salon. It's like teaching putting on a tint or taking off a shampoo, but doing it beautifully so that client is purring in that chair. So when she comes to the senior staff, she's relaxed and she's ready for change.
Cool. And I really like that. And with the kind of personal training plan or goals for an individual, how do you tend to go about kind of developing that and recording it as well?
Well, it's usually we write down a set number of goals, like what we want to achieve today. It's better to break it into today, the next month, next 6 months. Like a salon owner might think this person's really great and she wants to get her on the floor in 6 months. So how are we going to do that? And what will she be doing? So it's breaking it down. And what is that salon's forte? What is their strength? Is it balayage? Is it cutting? Is it classic cuts? Is it designer haircuts? So it's a lot of consultation with the salon, or the salon can ask themselves these questions, like, do they think, Samantha should be on the floor in 6 months? Because everybody nowadays, we do need to fast track. We need to have people productive, and it's putting the time in. I see, you do see wonderful kids who you put the time into, and they just grow so fast.
Yeah,
they don't want to be at the shampoo basin for 6 months or even a year anymore. I think those days are gone. They're excited and they're interested And we all know our industry doesn't have the stylists available that it should. So, and everybody's borrowing, well, I use the word stealing, but borrowing from everybody else. We're trying to get people from overseas, which isn't happening now. So we have to train from the bottom up. And salon owners need to trainers or do it themselves. And if you put 2 solid weeks into a young person who's got it, you're going to have them productive and a team member really, really fast. Because I totally believe in the people we've got in this industry. But we have to keep them. They're not staying, more than 6 years. They're not lifers like me and many other colleagues. We're in this for life.
Yeah. Cool. And any other tips on how to effectively train your team? Kind of your second top tip for someone?
Well, you have to keep educating yourself. So, prior to COVID, I was taking myself offshore, going over to New York to Vivian McKinder, spending a week with her, a couple of weeks every other year. I did have Sassoons on my list this year, but that's not going to happen. But I mean, technology has improved so much. And if you've got the time, want to make the time, I mean, I've got hundreds of DVDs and old videos even, and you can sit there and watch them and you can pause them and you've got to educate yourself. And also reading. I mean, the psychology of hairdressing and our clients and our team members is huge. Remember, people skills, that's so important. We've all heard this, you can have a hairdresser that's not that skilled, but he's got the biggest clientele. He or she has the biggest clientele because their personality makes that person feel wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you've got the good skills and you've got the personality, you're going to have a full book.
Yeah.
If you've only got good skills, you're not going to. But if you've got personality, you're there. Yeah. But you've got to have both. You've got to have good skills and good personality, or communication skills. And that doesn't mean chatting all the time.
Yeah.
Good manners. Good manners will get you everywhere. Opening doors, putting on coats. People love to be pampered, especially in this day and age, in this time frame.
Definitely.
Because we all are. Everything's shrunk a little bit, but it can be shrunk. It's shrunk in a nice way, and we have to enlarge on it. We have to make people feel special.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that everyone in this industry is just so busy all the time, and it's not only with their businesses and their clients, but also their personal lives. How do you what are your suggestions to making sure that they can put aside time, or how they can put aside time to do some training for themselves and upskill?
It's challenging, I have to say that, but it is just doing it. It's just, we write our appointments down for our clients. Let's mark our time out for training for Cathy, training for Alyssa, and we do it. But you have to find that space that's yours, that you feel comfortable in, to perhaps watch a video, a DVD, or watch a live channel like this. It's just making that time. You forced me to make this time today, and I was terrified. I'm terrified of technology and doing this, but I thought, Cathy, step out of your comfort zone. You've got to learn these new things because it's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the way forward, and I wish I knew more. I'll get there.
Well, you've done fantastically. You're here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. And what about your third kind of top tip for effectively training your team?
Well, it's being prepared, having all your resources, thinking, knowing, doing work with your staff, or in my case, it might be the people coming to my classes, thoroughly finding out their needs, being organised, being able to make it exciting, and making it exciting for both of you. And it is being prepared. If a salon wants, if you want your staff to get a model for Monday morning, make sure they've got models. I mean, if you can't give away a haircut, how can you expect to sell it? That's always been my saying, and otherwise you're going to be using a mannequin, which is nothing wrong with that either. Mm-hmm. But it's being prepared. And if the stylist doesn't have a model, don't get grumpy. Just help them find one, because you've got to be able to give away a haircut before you can sell it. And training. Many, many people and organisations are so happy to have you come to them, like Dress for Success. Some of those women need makeovers, and then you have a client for life. So there's many areas to get, models that'll give their time, but also be appreciative of that time that they're giving you, thanking them or buying them a chocolate box or something, appreciating people.
Yeah.
Yes, it's being organised. It's knowing who your I was going to say clients, but knowing who you're teaching and being prepared and educating yourself constantly.
Yeah. Definitely. Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cathy. You just gave so many insights and so many incredible tips in such a short period of time. So thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cool. And if anyone is interested in learning more about architectural hair education, how can they go about finding out or getting in touch with you?
We have our website, which I think if you just put in Cathy Davys, and if you notice the spelling, all sorts of things will come up. You'll see our training schedule for this year moving into next year. We have a training session coming up the end of October and end of November. COVID has obviously taken care of the past, but moving into next year, we've got January, just one a month, and we've got different levels. We've got we have creative intelligence, which is how to put it all together. And like I said, I'm a stickler for the classics, so you'll see a lot of that in that creative intelligence. It's for young ones who they might be in there 6 months or a year, but they're not quite on the floor, and they just need that magic push to get that aha factor and get them on the floor. There's long hair, that's my passion, updos and downdos and everything. Face shapes are incredibly important, lots of consultation. That's when I'm training, we're drifting through a lot of these things, talking about them. I use Vivian McKinder's tools. She's got Hair Designer TV, which is a paid subscription, but her content is phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. And it's a fantastic resource. If I had a huge salon of 20 or 30 staff these days, that'd be my set training go-to. I mean, it is now.
Yeah.
And so it's either just put cathydavison.com and you'll come up with all the training sessions.
Perfect. Awesome. I've also tagged Cathy's Facebook page in the comments, and I'll be sure to tag her on Instagram as well so that you guys can very, very easily get to her social media from this video. So thank you so much again, Cathy, for your time. I've really, really enjoyed chatting with you today.
Thank you, Alyssa. It's a pleasure. Anytime.
Cool. And thank you everyone for watching today, and we'll see you on our next Facebook Live. See ya.